Hey mamas, Sam McCormick here, founder of the Warrior Mamas Movement, and today I wanted to talk about a struggle that I'm sure every single woman has experienced when you're trying to make changes in your life. And that is how to get your spouse on board with eating healthier and having a healthier lifestyle. Like I said, this is something that I'm sure every single woman probably struggles with. If not, you have, I'm sure, struggled in the past. I definitely have. When I was doing my research, when I was struggling with all sorts of different symptoms and diseases, and I had decided I wanted to start eating healthier and change my lifestyle to be healthier, my husband was not on board. Even though the big reason that I was doing it was because we were struggling with infertility. We had tried to get pregnant after a miscarriage for over a year and nothing was working. And so I had decided that I was going to start eating healthier and revamp my lifestyle because all of the research that I had done had suggested that I could reset my body and heal my body. And thus become pregnant if I do this. And my husband really wanted another baby too, but he was so not on board with not eating a half gallon of ice cream every evening and watching copious amounts of TV. He was like, no, I don't want to do this. I do not want to eat plants and go for daily walks, which, I understand. And it's completely understandable, especially if you have grown up with a family that does things a certain way, aka eats a lot of junk food, watches a lot of TV, etc., and it's the only thing you've ever known. It's very hard to make changes, even if you're doing it for something that you really want. So if you are trying to change your life, eat healthier, have healthier habits, and your spouse is not on board, I understand. You are not alone, and it is very, very, very hard. But I want to give you some advice, and the first piece of advice that I want to give you is to give your spouse a little bit of empathy and compassion. And I think this applies to all areas of marriage, not just trying to make changes, but giving your spouse a little bit of empathy and compassion and understanding, and saying, hey babe, I understand where you're coming from. I know this is the only thing you have ever known, and I know it's hard to make changes, but can we make a pact to try this for, say, 2 weeks, not a very long time, and try to make that compromise and see how it goes? Because I think that will make a difference. I know both my husband and I are very stubborn. And if I try to come at him in a way that is me telling him what to do, it doesn't go over well. And that's very hard for me because I am, again, very stubborn and very controlling person. And if you are like me, this may be hard for you too. So just another piece of advice is to think through the conversation that you need to have with your spouse as well, and try to come at it from an angle that is, hey, can we try this together? And this is the reason why I want to do it. Another piece of advice that I can give you, and this will work with your kids as well, is to try to find healthy recipes that your spouse and your kids will like. For instance, when I was first switching over to a healthier diet, my kids and I absolutely loved traditional mac and cheese. Like baked mac and cheese with tons of dairy was our thing. So that was one of the hurdles that we had to overcome, was that we were giving up dairy products, and my kids were like, whoa, we love our mac and cheese, Mom. This is not going to fly with us. So I had to find something that would be a good substitute. And so I found recipes that were incorporating vegetables as the cheese sauce. And I made it a slow transition, which is always my advice when you are switching over to a healthier diet from a standard American diet, is to make it a slow transition, especially if you have kids. So I found recipes that would make the cheese sauce with cauliflower rather than heavy cream. And then I found recipes that would use nutritional yeast rather than dairy in the cheeses. And I made it a very slow transition and tried to find different recipes that they would like. I also find recipes that I know my husband will like. For example, he loves tacos. So I tried to find recipes that were whole food plant-based recipes that were taco recipes that he would enjoy. He really likes spicy things, so like spicy jackfruit tacos and things like that. And don't be afraid to experiment in your cooking. If you see something that you're not familiar with, don't run away from it. Give it a shot and see how it comes out. There is definitely a learning curve, especially if you have never really cooked in your life before, to learning how to cook whole food meals. And that's okay. You're probably going to mess up sometimes. Just make sure that you have backups for when your meals come out absolutely disgusting, because it happens to everybody. Just make sure you have a backup on hand for actual edible food that you can eat. And my final tip of advice for you ladies is, if your spouse is just not on board with you, he doesn't want to change his eating habits, he doesn't want to change his life, you're basically just going to have to tell him, look, I'm going to cook these meals, either you eat them or you're not. And you will have to find outside support, because trying to change your life, trying to change your diet and your lifestyle by yourself without support is very, 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 very hard. And so my final piece of advice to you is to find other women out there who are going through the same journey as you and who can support you and be there for you. Like when you get into a fight with your husband, will be there for you to vent to, can give you advice, and basically just be a shoulder to cry on when you need it. So find your community. It is super important. If you have not already found your community, I would love to invite you to my free webinar. It is the 3 secrets to getting healthy. And at the end of the webinar, I make a very special offer to you to join my exclusive community for very cheap, and you get all sorts of free things. So I will put the link in the description for you. Go watch the webinar. It is very informative. And then come join my community, and you can be around all of these lovely women who are on the same journey as you and who can support you with everything that you could possibly need. So that is it. Quick tips for you ladies today. If you have any questions or comments, of course, let me know. I love to hear from you. Other than